Hi, Michael. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a pretty crazy week, but I'm hanging in there. Yeah.
Good
Nice
thing
to
we have
see
our
you.
practices.
Exactly. Yes. Breathwork being a main one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about the upcoming workshops, the immersions, intensives that we're going to be holding up here in Santa Cruz area, San Francisco Bay Area, and starting in November, and then maybe coming up after that soon.
I
Maybe
hope
early
so.
next year, maybe leading to a mini training or even a training, something like that, which could be wildly exciting, I think. I'm pretty excited by that. So excited to talk to you about all these upcoming events and dig in a bit deeper and get to know what we're feeling is going to be coming with all of it. So firstly, I'm really curious. Well, I'll say I'm Carrie. I'm the founder and co-creator of Breath+Oneness in Capitola. It's a wellness center that we focus on wellness in all areas, mind, body, heart, soul, spirit, and building community. So yeah, that's my main one of my main missions right now. And I'm really would love to have you introduce yourself and say anything you feel important about yourself.
Thanks, Carrie. I mean, it's been 3 years at least since we've been up to the area, and I have a big appetite for visiting again and seeing everybody. My name is Michael Brian Baker, and I'm the founder of the Breath Center and the Academy of Integrated Human Sciences. We're best known for our program called the Academy of Awakening. I kind of stumbled on my words there, but we basically been working in conferences and festivals and yoga studios and working with veterans and first responders and all kinds of holistic universities for just about 20 years. And um, the book is coming out soon, which is really nice. We've been working on the Anatomy of Awakening book. And the Anatomy of Awakening is a either virtual self-paced program that's about 110 hours of material that merges Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern philosophies on mindfulness practices, health and wellness. And it's been really exciting, I guess, for those of you that do know us from the festivals, we had to figure out a way to bring the work into the festival circuits. And so we'd get a 90-minute block, and we knew that the 10 Methods of Awakening provided us with number 6, which was pranayama, better known in the West as breath work. And it became so popular that, over the last 10 years, we've literally been able to share it at large festivals with these kind of mass awakening experiences with tens of thousands of people. And there are our favorite home studios that we visited, and we'll drop in and do demos and talk a little bit about why breathwork is such the rave right now, at least much more popular than it was 20 years ago. And it's wonderful to have been captured by something myself, something that was so profound in my life that I almost felt like I had a moral obligation to share it with others, and then to have so much incredible confidence and trust from studios and other organizations to come and share it. And it's really been nothing short of spectacular. So very excited, obviously, to come up and share again.
Yeah, we're so excited to work with you again and have you here. You definitely bring a certain type of magic with you, and you are. So it's yeah, very exciting to have you back. And you alluded a little bit there to something that I'm curious about. I actually don't know much, if anything, about your own personal journey with this. And I'm kind of curious if you have any sort of, how did you launch into the world of breath work, or what brought you in? What's your personal story around that?
Well, I'm so like many people, I had challenges in my life as a teenager and as a young man, and I experienced a pretty good amount of discomfort and suffering, and kind of led the road less traveled, and ended up you know kind of getting on a yoga mat and finding the same type of benefits that a lot of professionals find today, which is you know kind of the dissolve of anxiety and worry and attachment, and you know expectation, and as I practiced more and more, meditation and yoga, and especially started working with the breath, what I really noticed that was an impact in my life was that my ability to receive opened, and my life became really, really abundant. And I mean, abundant in ways that I never really would have imagined. But then, so, you mentioned the magic part of this, and I can get really scientific about it, but I'll tell you that what ended up happening was a real estate friend of mine who was a pretty successful developer ended up introducing me to the body of saints and sages in the Far East, and I kind of ran head to head with one unexpected, and I experienced the eighth method of awakening, which is known as Shaktipat, and this is the transmission of universal current. This is just, the energy basically that heals you. If you get a cut, over time it mends and it heals. And so this exact same force can be accelerated. And I experienced with this saint a rapid amount of that exact current going through my body. And the effect that it had on me was that it moved everything that I'd been hanging on to emotionally, because, guys, or at least in my household when I was growing up, really weren't showing a lot of emotion, weren't really taught about emotional intelligence or boundaries or to express our needs. And so I was hanging on to a lot, and like I'm literally, within a very short amount of time, I felt like years and years and years of stuff that I'd been carrying kind of got composted back into the earth. And I couldn't help but wonder what happened to me. And I, even though I didn't know it at that moment, I had subconsciously committed to exploring and defining what actually happened to me. And was it mystical? Was it magic? Did it just happen to be a coincidence that I ended up with this guy? How did this happen to me? And was I actually blessed? Was it a blessing from the divine? Or, and this is where I believe that the collective comes in, these are really just advanced human sciences by what I've studied over the last 20 years. However, if you look into ancient cultures, before there was language and before there was travel, and a lot of these higher teachings were very philosophical because they really didn't have a body of communication that was shared throughout their communities, because those who were less fortunate wouldn't have the time or the access to this information. And so it was very etheric, the way that they wrote and the way that they explained. And it was also kind of held for certain people, right? The clergy or people who were very devoted, or, the ascetics. And where I've come to now after chasing this magic is to understand that without without a baseline of teaching, one would absolutely think that it's magic, because the experience is otherworldly. It's out of body. It's not what we're used to day to day. It's one thing to get on a yoga mat and get a good practice in and become physically strong and become more aware and find really, really amazing benefits to developing a practice. it's another thing to step into the alchemy of the practice, which very few have actually experienced, and then to feel that in your body and to trace that scientifically so that all of your questions are answered. And so for me, meeting a saint and having a God experience healed my life, and it happened very, very quickly. My understanding of it now is that this is available to all people, and it's very human. There's really nothing so spectacular about it, with the exception of the fact that we are in very less than open times. People are very rigid in their mindsets, what they believe in. We're living during a period of the epochs where materialism and sensualities are placed at a premium. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I really like nice things too, guys, but there's so much more. So much more. And the crazy thing about it is that most people, or the way that we've been raised, was to believe that you would create a beautiful life and then find resolve internally as a result of creating that beautiful life. Well, who would have known that the alignment needs to happen internally first? And when it happens internally first, the byproduct is that everything in life starts to line up. And I think that may be one of the challenges with a lot of the folks that we're working with now, who are involved in tech design, or a lot of the more affluent, or at least what we would consider successful folks in our society, come to a point where sometimes they might have like an identity crisis, because they have all the stuff. The left hemisphere of the brain is surgical. They have achieved what very few will ever even get to experience. And yet internally, the best way to put it is that there's something missing. And scientifically, if we look at what it really is, it has to do with the balancing of the nervous system. And it's the hot topic today is manifestation, right? The secret. How do you manifest? How do you manifest? Well, for the last century, we've been living in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, because we are working every day and putting a roof over our heads and feeding ourselves and paying bills. And you can't be in an active solar function and receive, because it's not safe to receive when you are in action. And many people don't utilize or fully find balance within the parasympathetic nervous system, which is obviously rest and digest. And I know that these are a lot of buzzwords, so you have to actually experience it, because so many people are talking about this today. And I'm not a physician. I'm just very clear that in order to reset the vagus nerve and to actually balance the parasympathetic nervous system, there are few techniques that can actually get you there and create balance. And the experience, when you haven't had that for 5, 10, 20 years or a lifetime, would be referred to as healing. The experience is a healing experience. The heat, the cold, the vibration, the visions, all of the things that happen that seem so mystical or far out, they're really not. It's just a fine tuning for the system to be kind of reset at a very natural, organic, balanced level. And so, yeah, without getting too much into it, the way that it used to be shared was that you would do probably a 4, 6, maybe even 10-year apprenticeship, and you would learn all of the base practices, and then they would build you up, and eventually you would move into these more advanced techniques, because then you would there wouldn't be a danger of a bifurcation, meaning very often if people have out-of-body experiences, or they begin to understand that the quantum field is accessible and consciousness is non-local, meaning it doesn't belong to you or me, it can actually move out of the body and move back in freely. This is what it actually means to be human. There's nothing supernatural about it, that it's difficult to integrate an experience like that unless you understand the physiology, biology, and energetics of what's actually happening with the body. So you would go and do that first. These days, what you have people doing is having the experience first and then trying to understand what happened. And fortunately or unfortunately, many of them are immersing themselves within a certain body of work that's missing 90% of the information that would be required in order to really ground and resolve that drive, that seeking. One of our students said, the thing that makes what you're doing different is that anybody else that's studying anywhere else at best is circling the divine. And when we use words like the divine or yoga or awakening or ascension, what we're actually doing is we're creating a bifurcation. There's a separation in that. It's like you're going to lose 75% of the folks out there that are, making a living, and those things just sound far out. And until we can understand that we can be all things, it's okay to be all things. You can be extremely successful in business and then begin to know how to navigate your nervous system so that you can be in full receivership and, most importantly, maintain your health and your youth and your vitality, rather than suffering with inflammation or indigestion or, immune issues. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go along with this, but we've seen enough now over the last 15 or 20 years to know that, yes, it may look like a miracle. It may look like a miracle. It may sound like a miracle, but actually, if it's happening, and if there is a human being that can tell that story, and then there's another, 20,000 that are going to be telling the same story, it's most likely happening. And if it's happening, then it's organic. It's not necessarily magic. Or maybe we are magic. Who knows? To me, it just seems that it's human,
Yeah, I agree. Well, I feel like, yeah, somehow it all comes together and it's all true. Magic, scientific, biological, human. You've already gotten into some of what I was curious about for you, what you've seen as benefits of breath work over the years that you've been working with it. And I'm curious if there's anything that maybe you haven't mentioned yet that you feel like or maybe you've already said. I heard a lot of nervous system balancing. I heard just getting, balancing the body, the inner self much more, better sleep, better digestion. So there's the physical aspects, there's the neurological benefits, I would say, that you were speaking to. Is there anything else that you might add for people to get a sense of what are some of the major benefits you've seen over the years?
The thing that excites me most about it actually is how it affects neuroplasticity. So thought patterns, programs, belief systems, or kind of walking hard drives in a way. The brain is like a hard drive, right? In the way that the way that we're brought up and what we associate with and what we surround ourselves with begins to become our reality, especially, when we're children. And the incredible thing about a lot of these techniques is that what would normally take a full night's sleep in order to run through the cycles of brainwaves can be done in 7 to 15 minutes. And neuroplasticity is important because when we have a program running in our mind, eventually we're going to believe it. And I know that there's a lot of Western psychology that has different, different ideals on how to rewire the brain. This does it for you. So talk therapy is wonderful. But I think that the impact of 15 minutes in Kriya and then being able to spend a good amount of time concentrating on more beneficial, higher frequency, higher potential thoughts and programs begins to really change the way that we see the world. And I'm in a phase right now where I feel like I want to do everything. I want to be everything, because there's one thing going from business into being a yoga guy and the spiritual influencer. And I mean, we were doing that kind of before that was even a thing. And I see that within myself, it's not necessarily negative things that I want to shift. I just want to grow. I just want to continue growing. I want there always to be something new to look forward to. And one of the things that inspires me the most with that is actually my son, because the way that I see him is he's so open and curious, and he's not yet affected by my beliefs or his mother's beliefs or anything that surrounds him. He's looking from a place of individuality and just being curious more than decisive about anything. Even when something comes up maybe that he doesn't agree with, he's just interesting, and he moves on. He's very fluid. So the idea of being fluid really fires me up these days. And yeah, it's gotten me into 2 new businesses within the last 2 weeks, basically. And the idea of working in mindfulness for some people might mean letting go of everything, right? Just to release everything and just to be. And I did that for a really, really long time, and it was really beautiful. And now I've moved into a place where I want to do everything, but I want to do it without having to expend any energy. I want to do everything and create the way that nature creates without having to judge or measure or be concerned with the way it's going to be received, just to constantly be trying new things, because that's really what life is about. For me, there's so many new things to be discovering, and working with brain plasticity in this way. And I'm really, for those of you that haven't tried the very, very gentle we call it right respiration. Right respiration has a blueprint, and it's very gentle. There's nothing, it's not breath work. It's, again, right respiration, very, very simple. And when you work with it for 15 minutes, you begin to be able to be the witness of things that can shift for you. And that's been really exciting for me.
When you say that, the shift, I'm curious because the weekend coming up, the word transformation is used, at least, especially on the Friday night. I'd imagine, I mean, I know one of our intentions is that the entire weekend, the whole process of the weekend will be transformative. And so I'm curious about that, because when you use the word shift, right, I think of transformation, shift. So curious to speak to that, you know, the intentions around transformation, and if there's any specific intentions with that, or, you know, what your sense of that is.
First, you don't have to be broken. Nothing wrong with you to come and experience transformation. I think a lot of times when people think about transformation or they think about healing, it implies that something's broken or it needs to be fixed, and that's not the case at all. Change happens. Change happens. It's always happening. This is a mild acceleration of that change through clearing and cleaning. And whenever we clean or clear, we tend to gain more clarity. Clarity comes in, and that clarity is priceless, because within times where there's confusion, there's very little that we can enact in our lives and have any type of confidence around. This weekend that we're offering it's going to be priceless. I can guarantee that it's going to be priceless. We're going to bring the full body of knowledge within Eastern philosophy. It's known as jnana, Jana, and we're going to lay that out first, very simply, so that you understand actually what's going to happen before we go into it. And then we're going to do a session, which will be, well, it can't be anything less than transformational. However, it's not holotropic. It's not transformational. It's not shamanic. You can't put any name on it. It is not a rebranding of something that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old that is a specific type. There's actually only one teaching, and it comes from the southern India, and we're going to talk about who the founders are and why they brought it forward. We're going to talk a little bit of cosmology, and it's all going to make perfect sense. It's all nothing far out. It's all going to make perfect sense. Then we're going to do the practice, and I'm going to talk about the science, so that when it happens, you get all of the magic. You have all of the magic, all of the medicine, all of the etheric wow, but you'll get what's going on chemically and hormonally within the body to create that. And then what I'm most excited about it is really our 2 days together, because I don't do this. I don't travel to lead workshops for full days, 2 full-day workshops. And what it's allowed me to do is it's allowed me to incorporate the 10 methods of awakening. There's a couple that I can't do because they suggest magic, but we're going to be covering many of these modalities. But you know that when we gather with like-minded individuals, whether it's a startup, or you're writing a script, or you come together for a purpose, it's an amplified experience. And so this is going to be a very, very rapid amplification of what each individual desires. It's not a common goal, although yes, common goal is to I mean, evolve, and evolve in a way that we can be proud of. Our thing with the Academy has always been to leave a better place worth inheriting for future generations. Like, bring awareness in, more awareness and more healing, and we can pass that down. That makes a big difference. In some way, shape, or form, those are our peeps. Those are the best and brightest. They're people in whatever they do, whatever their job is, whatever their belief system is, they also have an interest in humanity, human interest story. And I know that, I was in finance for quite a while, and it was pretty wonderful. But it didn't leave me feeling complete. And I have to say that after doing this work and being able to share it in this way, that if this was the end of my story, my fairy tale, I would be more than satiated with what I've been able to create and what we've been able to share. It's been absolutely spectacular. And I have a drive to share that with others. I want to be able to pass that down to others, that exact same experience, so that people can feel complete in their lives, in what their missions are. And yeah.
For the weekends, because you mentioned the weekends, I'm curious if we can just even bullet point. You did a little bit actually already. I'm curious if there's anything else about what people can anticipate as part of the event experience. I feel like you talked about some discussion. Obviously,
I don't want to give too much of it away, but let's say this. So there's a pyramid of health in the West that addresses the body, mind, emotion, and then inspiration, kind of in that order, saying if the physical body is not okay, that it's going to be pretty difficult to be good with your thoughts. And if your thoughts aren't good emotionally, you're probably not going to be doing great. And not going to be doing great emotionally, you're not going to be inspired. And so we've built this structure, without getting into specifics, where we are addressing these different levels in experiences, experiential hours. Everything's broken into hours, 1 hour for each thing. So it goes pretty quickly. And we're building. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a 4-year apprenticeship and I'm putting it into 2 days. So what you would experience if you were in a 4-year apprenticeship with my teachers, who I absolutely consider to be masters at their craft, and we've been given permission to share these particular practices in this specific way, that we're going to go ahead and we're going to compact that all together, and we're going to do it in a very kind of playful, animated container, so that it'll be really entertaining. The reason why I love doing that is because that's what brings the magic. So it's not like being forced into processing. We're not doing Gestalt here. Nothing wrong with Gestalt, by the way. Sorry, folks. But the idea is that the byproduct of us coming together and spending this time together will be a profound integration. And yeah, there'll be healing. There'll be a lot of healing, and a lot of getting rid of stuff that we've probably been shouldering for a long time, sometimes that we don't even know. I talked to a lot of the people that I've met at conferences and festivals we get really close over the last, it's been over a decade. And they'll talk to me, hey, I didn't even know this was coming up. And, my grandfather, but I didn't realize it because my father never told me, or just wild stories, really far out things. And my response to all these things is, yeah, I know, me too. That's what happened. That's literally what happened to me too. It may have been kind of a different family member or something like that, but that is the order of the way that things happened for me as well. And to be able to re-engineer that and, hop on a plane and come out for 4 days and share some of this profound work that has been valued by many, but has not quite yet hit. It hasn't really landed, is probably one of the greatest honors that we'll ever have. And we've got a full team coming out to help out and support. They've all been trained for years and years, and some licensed people, and it's just going to be a really, really safe container, because that's the most important piece is, safe container and permission based, that we have permission to come and be doing this work. And for those that are interested in a little bit of the magic, I'm going to be bringing a lot of that.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, and I feel like the group container and like you spoke to that earlier in our dialogue, is that the magic of being together and with lots of people. There's something really extraordinary and profound about that too, right? I've only actually experienced it a little bit, but there's something so extra about being in a room with others and going through a journey together, and like the energy that's there, and the ability of the energy to move things that might not even move so well on my own, or even with a couple people. There's something so profound about that too. So that's how I met you, was in a room of like 150 people, and it was one of the most amazing experiences. So,
Carrie, real quick, when I started doing this work, I'm actually pretty shy, probably tell, but and all of a sudden I was in the middle of like all of these people, and I had to figure out what I was going to do. Like, how am I going to show up like this in front of all of these people? And I know this sounds cliche, but I realized on a very deep level that it wasn't at all about me, that it was about the collective. And from the second time, I'm saying literally the second time we sat with groups, it always became about the collective, whoever's coming in. It's about the group of people, and the fact that they say somewhere, when two or more gather in the name of something benevolent or good, then thy will be done. It's like this magical, incredible experience of harmony. To be able to have that experience, some of us, at the risk of sounding corny, would actually like to experience a peace treaty on our time here, where
the meeting's about to end. So we just for right now, at least have to say thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. So appreciate it. Can't wait to hear more and see you soon. And thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.